welcome back to the Slowpoke World. If you're looking to get involved with the Pokemon TCG, but you don't know what deck to build, how to build a deck, or even how to play one, then don't worry, I've got the best video for you, okay? This is the best deck for beginners to get started with the Pokemon TCG. Let me tell you what. I got 4 reasons for you, okay? First reason, this deck is extremely competitive. I've been playing it for a while, and trust me when I say I have slapped some high tier meta decks with this deck. If this isn't like a normal starter deck or anything like this, you can and you will win games with this, okay? That's reason number 1. Right, so reason number 2 is that this deck is extremely cheap to build, okay? Assume that you're going to have a fresh online Pokemon account. You can get this deck built for anywhere between $8 to £12 on the max, okay? So you got a low barrier to entry, so if you don't enjoy the game later on, it isn't like you spent hundreds of pounds on an expensive deck, you know what I mean? Number 3 is that if you do enjoy the deck and you do enjoy playing the Pokemon TCG, this deck is extremely upgradable. Very clear upgrade paths. I'll talk you through them later, so you can take this deck from a budget deck all the way up to like a tier 2 deck very easily. Very clear upgrade path. And also, this deck is going to be future supported. We know that the cards in future sets will be supported in this archetype, so it isn't like this deck's only going to last you a few months. This deck could last you potentially years, and it's so cheap and it's so good. How's about that, eh? And then my 4th reason, but arguably the most important, is that this deck teaches all the basic fundamentals of the game extremely well, okay? About how to evolve Pokemon, about resource management, about utilizing 1 prizes versus 2 prizes, about using support Pokemon that let you sort of draw cards but may lose you the game later on. This deck is extremely good at teaching all that stuff, which is why I think this deck is the best deck for beginners. Anyway, let's get on to the deck, shall we? I've been rambling for too long, haven't I? Right, so I'm going to assume that you sort of know the basics on how to play Pokemon TCG. If you don't, I'll leave a video down there. Go watch that video, then come back to this one. Right, so this Houndoom here that you can see, this is our heart and blood of the deck. Think of this Houndoom as like the engine to a car. Without the engine, you ain't getting a whole lot of stuff done, okay? Like, you might be able to look at it and it might stand there, but it damn well ain't moving. This Houndoom has 130 HP. It's a single strike Pokemon. You see that little thing there? Single strike, okay? That's really important because our deck is sort of built around the single strike archetype, okay? And what this Houndoom does has an ability, you can see there, single strike raw. Once during your turn, you can search your deck for a single strike energy, attach them to one of your single strike Pokemon if you do put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon, okay? So if you're sort of new to the game, accelerating energy is really, really good. All the top tier decks, for the most part, have ways of accelerating energy. Energy acceleration is super important. We need energy to attack. If we don't have energy, we can't attack. And our form of energy acceleration is Houndoom. It's really, really good. Now, if we have multiple Houndooms out, we can actually use multiple of these in a turn, right? Because it only says once during your turn for this Houndoom. So if you have 3 Houndooms out, you can essentially accelerate 3 energies from our deck in a turn. Really, really cool. Now, there is a slight downside there. You have to put 2 damage counters on the Pokemon you attach energies to. But I'll explain as we go through. That's really not too much of a drawback. You'll see why. Right, so if Houndoom was our engine to the car, think of Stonjourner as like the driver. You know what I mean? This guy is going to be directing it. This is how we're going to win the game, essentially. As good as Houndoom is, Houndoom doesn't really win us the game, per se. Stonjourner does, because we're going to be attaching those single strike energy cards to our Stonjourner. Let's have a look. The Stonjourner is a basic Pokemon, okay, with 130 HP. And it's got 2 attacks. Land Pulse, for 1 fighting, 1 colorless energy, you do 30 damage, plus 30 if there's a Stadium card in play. Now, we'll get to our Stadium cards in a bit. We do play them. But just remember, so this attack does 30 plus 30. So 60 in total if there's a Stadium. And let me tell you now, there's normally a Stadium in play in most games, okay? So think of that as like 2 for 60 almost. Very good. You can see instantly this is better than Houndoom's attack. Houndoom did 2 for 50. This can do 2 for 60. So you can see why Stonjourner's a better attack. But Giga Hammer is the attack we want to be using the most. Giga Hammer for 2 fighting, 1 colorless, you do 120. But then this Pokemon can't use Giga Hammer next turn. Don't really worry about that text. It's not terribly important. Just think that this card does, for 3 energy, does 120, okay? So this Stonjourner is our attacker. This is how we're going to win the game. Powering up this young fella, okay? Think of this single strike Urshifu V as like the nitrous, okay? Like if you ever played Need for Speed or watched Too Fast, Too Furious, any of those heroes, sometimes when they hit that NOS button, it's like and the car goes super fast. You know, that's what this is. This is like a turbo boost option. Not technically needed every game to win, but sometimes it's nice having it in the back pocket in case something goes crazy, you know what I mean? Let's have a look at our single strike Urshifu V. He has 2 attacks, okay? Laser focus. For 1 fighting energy, you can search your deck for 2 fighting energy cards and attach them to this Pokemon. So this is really cool. If you do this like turn 1, you're doing a lot of pressure because you've set yourself up for our second attack, Impact Blow. For 3 energy, you do 180 damage. You can see instantly, you know, Stonjourner does 3 for 120. Urshifu V does 3 for 180. So you can see the power level here, right? You know what I mean? But again, we predominantly want to use our 1 prize. We don't want to be giving up too many 2 prize knockouts. That's counter synergistic of what we're trying to do. So use this little fella sparingly. So we've done a lot of talking about these single strike energy cards. These are the cards that Houndoom attaches from the deck using its single strike raw ability. Let's have a look at them. So this is a single strike energy card, okay? It can only be attached to a single strike Pokemon. So if you see a Pokemon like this that hasn't got the single strike tag, you can't attach this energy to it, okay? So just don't bother, don't draw it. But when this energy card is attached to a single strike Pokemon, it can do some really cool things. It can provide a fighting energy or a dark energy, only 1 at a time, right? So you can't provide both. But it also means for every one of these you have attached, the Pokemon it's attached to, there's an extra 20 damage. Now that is pretty gnarly. If you're new to the game and you don't know how gnarly that is, trust me, that's crazy. So with that knowledge, let's look back at our attackers, right? So we've got Stonjourner. Now let's pretend we have 3 single strike energy attached, okay? Pretty cool. And it's not unheard of either. So we have 3 single strike energies attached to our Stonjourner and we use Giga Hammer. It no longer does 120 now, folks. It now does 180 damage. That's really cool. You can see why Houndoom and the single strike energy core is so strong now. We can make our attacks a lot stronger just by throwing these single strike energies around, okay? Right, so if Houndoom's the engine, Stonjourner's the driver, Urshifu V is the nitrous, this Crobat V is like the sat nav. You know what I mean? Now, let me explain. So when you're driving somewhere, right, if you know the way, you don't need the sat nav. You know what I mean? You can just drive there, as long as everything's okay, you don't need the sat nav. But let's say something gets a little bit treacherous, you don't know the way, things aren't really going how you want. Sometimes you have to just boot up the sat nav real fast and the sat nav will sort it out. That sounds a bit weird. Let me explain what I mean. So Crobat's 4 is mostly here for its ability, similar to the Houndoom. We don't really want to attack with this. In fact, we actually can't attack with this Crobat. This Crobat is solely here for its ability. Let's have a look at it. So we've got Dark Asset. When you play this Pokemon down from your hand to your bench, you can draw till you have 6 cards in your hand. If you're from a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, you'd understand how important card economy and card advantage, because sometimes we don't really get set up all the time, and Crobat just lets us, you know, it's like a get out of jail free card essentially, right? You just be like, what? And then I've got 6 cards in my hand, let me continue playing the game. Really cool. And in a similar vein to the Crobat, we also played this Oricorio GX. It has a really cool ability called Dance of Tribute. Once during your turn, if one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn, you can draw 3 cards from your deck. Now this is really cool because we're playing Stonjourner, right, and you can see the Stonjourner's HP is 130 versus the Urshifu V's 200, right? You can see the difference in HP. So chances are our Stonjourner is getting knocked out a lot more frequently, okay? It's not hard for our opponent to knock out Stonjourners. So that means we can get a lot of uses from this Dance of Tribute. Like, let's say our opponent knocks out 4 Stonjourners over the course of a game. We can see an extra 12 cards with this Dance of Tribute, okay? Really, really cool. Going to help us set up our Houndooms. Going to let us get a lot of the pieces from our deck that we need throughout the game. Really cool card, the Oricorio. Right, and then the only other Pokemon we play is this Mew. Again, similarly to the Crobat and the Oricorio, we don't really want to attack with this. This Mew is mostly here for its ability. Let's take a look at it. So this Mew has the ability Bench Barrier. Prevent all damage done to your benched Pokemon from your opponent's attacks. Now, hopefully you'll see this in some of the games, but basically we want to keep our Houndooms alive at all costs. Without the Houndooms going along, we lose these games, okay? Houndoom, like I said, Houndoom's the engine of the car. We need the Houndoom to survive. If we have no Houndoom, there's no way we win. It's literally that simple. So there are some attacks that your opponents can do, such as from this Urshifu VMAX, right? Which can like hit the bench. Like this Urshifu VMAX, for example, is 120 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That's kind of scary. So what this Mew does is basically just sits on the bench and says, right, I'm going to look after these Houndooms. They can go to work and we can win this game. We don't need it every game, this Mew. But it's a pretty cool card to have nonetheless. Right, so this is how the deck list actually looks, okay? We've got some trainers to run through. I'll run you through them as well. But ignore that the Houndooms are blacked out. I haven't got this rarity. I've got a higher rarity. Don't worry about that, though. We're going to use the cheap ones here. So, let's have a look at some of the important trainers that we have. So, let's look at our supporters first. Supporters are my favourite trainers because they normally have super strong effects, but you can only use one supporter per turn, okay? So, that's why they have such a strong effect, because you can only use them once a turn. So, let's have a look. We play 3 different supporters in this deck. Professor's Research is the one that we want to ideally use the most because it's insane. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. Now, discarding your hand can sometimes be costly, but the effect drawing 7 straight, fresh new cards is insane. Remember, we play Crobat in here, so we can draw till we have 6 cards in our hand. So that as a maximum, let's say you play a Crobat and you have no cards in your hand, you draw 6 cards. That's as good as it can get. This Professor's Research can get 7. Really, really cool. We need to get those Houndoom set up ASAP Rocky, okay? And these Professor's Research help us do it. Along with, you know, finding our attackers or anything like this. Essentially, every deck in format at the minute plays 4 Professor's Research. It's really, really good. There's only a few decks that don't. Don't worry about them. So we're playing 4 Professor's Research, okay? So let's have a look at Bruno. Bruno is a supporter. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 4 cards. That's not really good. Let's keep reading. If any of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn, draw 7 cards instead. Now, we've already seen Professor's Research lets us have 7 cards in our hand. And I've told you already, that is bonkers. Being able to replicate that with a Bruno is really, really cool. So let's say Stonjourner gets knocked out, right? We can use a Bruno, have 7 cards in our hand, then use Oracoria's Dance of Tribute, 10 cards in hand. And let me tell you, that is an obscene amount of cards to have in Pokemon TCG in your hand. 10 cards is insane. Bruno's really cool. Basically, between Bruno and Research, their supporters want to be playing almost every turn because they're so strong. And not a lot of decks can utilize Bruno well. This is one of them, though. Our only other supporter that we play is, again, equally important though, but this one doesn't let us draw cards. Let's have a look. This is Boss's Order. So what Boss does is switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. Now, you'll see this a lot more in the gameplay, but a lot of the times, we don't really want to hit what our opponent has in the active. Sometimes you do, you want to try and take out their attackers, right? But sometimes they're going to have stuff like Crobats and the Dendes on the bench that we are really well equipped to deal with. Boss's Orders just lets us hit them, really, you know what I mean? Right, so that's our supporters done. Let's have a look at these items now, shall we? Equally as important now, one thing to know with items is that you can play as many of these as you want in a turn. So you can play only 1 supporter per turn. You can play as many items as you want. Let's have a look. So we've got Quick Ball here. Really important, okay? This is almost important as Houndooms, in my opinion. What Quick Ball does is discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it into your hand. Now, if you've been paying attention, pretty much all our Pokemon are basics, okay? So you can see why this is very important. The only Pokemon we haven't got in this deck that's a basic is a Houndoom. That's a stage 1. But we need the basic Houndour. we need the Houndour before we can get into the Houndooms, right? So you can argue that Quick Ball searches for everything in the deck. It's really important. We need to get down multiple Houndours turn 1 in an ideal world. Our attackers are all basic, so Quick Ball are just very important. Let's leave it that way. We got Pokemon Communication. Now, this is kind of like Quick Ball in the sense that it lets us search for Pokemon. What Pokemon Communication does, though, is reveal a Pokemon from your hand and put it into your deck. If you do, you can search your deck for any Pokemon card and put it into your hand. So what this is really good for is 2 things. Number 1, it acts like more Quick Balls. You know, like I said, searching basics is extremely important. Pokemon Communication lets us do that without playing a Quick Ball, right? But what Pokemon Communication is also really important for is the only way in this deck we can search Houndooms out of the deck. And like I said multiple times, Houndooms are so important for this deck to work. We need to get them out ASAP. And Pokemon Communication lets us search them out. So if we haven't got Houndoom in our hand, we can use Pokemon Communication to go find them. Right, the next sort of important item I feel is this. Urn of Vitality. It's a single strike item card. And what this one lets you do is get 2 single strike cards from your discard pile and shuffle them back into your deck. It's letting you reuse single strike cards, okay? Because our single strike energies are so critical to our success, okay? We can't really afford to not have these in our deck at any given time. So let's say all 4 of our single strike energies in the discard pile. That means we can't use Houndoom anymore. You know what I mean? So we want to be able to use Houndoom a lot of the time, because most of the time our Stonjourners are going to be getting attacked. We're going to have to reload Stonjourners every turn. In which case we're going to need at least 2 Houndooms out to do that. And have the single strike energies in deck. So here's a common scenario. Is that we'll have a Stonjourner in the active with 3 energies on, and hopefully he's just taking a knockout, right? Our opponent's going to knock out that Stonjourner, put him to the discard pile and all cards attached. Oh, trade is complete. Very nice. So now what we're going to have to realistically do is find a way of getting those single strike energies back into the deck so we can use our single strike raw and get another Stonjourner set up, yeah? And that's what the Urn of Vitality does, essentially, is lets us get those single strike energies, get them back into the deck so we can keep reloading our Stonjourners and win the game, babe. That's pretty cool, right? Speaking of energy, we actually play another cool energy here. We got 4 capture energies. Now these are really cool. This is a special energy card, and while it's attached to any Pokemon, it only provides a colorless. That's kind of important. Let me show you what that means. So let's say we got this single strike Urshifu V here, right? And we attach the capture energy to it. We cannot use laser focus because that capture energy only provides this little symbol here. It doesn't provide the color symbol. So while the capture energies aren't really good for using our 1 energy attacks, it is good for providing these colorless, and quite a few Pokemon have them. Like look, our Stonjourner, for example, colorless here, colorless there. And so does our Houndoom, funnily enough. But we're not really using the capture energies to provide the sort of color cost. It doesn't do that. But what we do, when we attach this capture energy from our hand, it has a really cool effect. What it does is you can search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it straight onto your bench. That's really cool. Let me explain. So I've already said how important Quick Ball is in this deck. We need to flood the board with basics really fast. So what this capture energy, it's like having another Quick Ball, right? So let's say our turn 1. We've led a Stonjourner. We can attach a capture energy so we can get ready to start doing our attacks. But whilst attaching that and getting our tempo ready, we can actually search the deck for a Houndour and put it straight onto our bench. It's really, really cool. So that means we can, like, you know, use 1 capture energy to find 1 Houndour. We can then use a Quick Ball to find a Houndour. And let's say we have a Pokemon Communication in our hand and we've got the Mew that we don't need. We can use the Pokemon Communication to get another Houndour. Now we have 3 Houndours, and let's say next turn then we evolve them all into Houndooms. We can now get 3 of our single strike energies and attach them where we want. You can see this deck is literally built to get out Houndooms as fast as possible and attach our single strike energies to our 2 attacking cards, yeah? And that's why capture energy is pretty gnarly. We also play some Stadium cards, okay? Tower of Darkness is a really cool Stadium card, okay? It's a single strike Stadium. And what this does is you can discard a single strike card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 extra cards. So we can discard, you know, extra Houndooms if we don't need them. We can discard single strike energies, for example, and then shuffle them back in with Urn of Vitality. We can even discard the Urn of Vitality. Basically, because like I said, we need to get these Houndooms out as soon as possible. Our whole deck is built around doing that. Tower of Darkness lets us do that. We also play one of this Great Catcher. This is very similar to the boss's orders, but you can see it's an item, so we can use this as well as a supporter. That means it's not quite as good as boss, but it's still pretty handy. Let's have a look. So Great Catcher is an item card. You can only play this if you discard 2 cards from your hand, but if you do, you can switch one of your opponent's benched GX or EX and put it into the act. Not every card is an EX or GX. As you can see, Stonjourner is not an EX or a GX. Single Strike Urshifu V is not an EX or a GX, but Oricorio is a GX. So let's say our opponent had an Oricorio on the bench. We can use our Great Catcher, bring it into the active, and KO it. Now, there is one sort of main card this Great Catcher is targeting. Let's have a look, because this card gets played in a whole lot of decks. We're not using it in our deck, but it gets played a lot in a lot of decks, and that is this, the Dene. So let me tell you why we're really targeting this Dedenne. A lot of decks are playing Dedenne. There's a multitude of meta decks that are pretty much all playing Dedenne. And we are really good at dealing with them because it's weak to fighting, as you see. So any damage we do from a fighting type Pokemon is times by 2 when it hits a Dedenne, right? So Giga Hammer is now doing 240. Really, really good. Impact Blow is doing silly numbers. But what this means is it's only got 160 HP. So this is a really easy 2 prizes for us to take. We can take those 2 prizes using Lamp Pulse, you know what I mean, for 2 energy. So that's why we play the 1 Great Catcher, because sometimes we're not going to be able to use the boss's orders. We might have to use a Bruno to try and get our own vitalities before we can attack, all right? But what Great Catcher almost lets us do in a lot of scenarios is play a boss and another supporter. That's why it's really cool. We can target Dedennes really well. You could argue this could be a 2 count in here, but for now we're ain't playing 1. Right, and then the only other cards we play are 2 Escape Rope. This is kind of like a switch. This means that our opponent is going to switch their active Pokemon. We're going to switch our active Pokemon. It's just pretty cool to have a little pivot. Again, sometimes we don't want to hit what's in our opponent's active. They might start throwing up 1 prizes, and we don't really win in a 1 prize versus 1 prize game. We want to try and take multiple prizes at a time. Escape Rope, again, kind of like the Great Catcher, is almost like a boss, whilst also, let's say our opponent bosses up a Pokemon we don't want any active. Escape Rope also lets us switch them around. And then we've also got 2 of these air balloons. Now, this is a tool card, so that means this gets attached to one of your Pokemon. What this does when it's attached, it means the Pokemon it's attached to has 2 retreat cost less. So the main Pokemon we attach these to are Houndooms, right? Because they have 2 retreat costs, so we can attach them to our Houndooms. So now they have a 3 retreat cost, which is really handy. Right, so we've looked at the whole list. I've explained why each card is in there and what it does. Let's get into some gameplay now. I managed to get some good gameplay here where I've sort of explained all my reasoning for the decisions I made and why I made them. So it should be really helpful. So when you guys look to build this deck, you're going to remember, oh, Shay did that, Shay did this. Let me do the same. So let's have a look, shall we? Right, so you join us here for one of our first games. This is a really cool game. Now, when I was actually playing, my mic was muted for some of it. So some of this is going to be post-com, me talking to you now, and some of it is going to hop back to live commentary when I was playing. So this sleight of hand really isn't very good because we've led Oracorio, which is a 2 prizes. So we don't really want to be leaving around too much. And we've got a research, well, 2 researches and 2 of our single strike energy. Now, we don't really want those energy to be hitting a discard pile unless we're using them. So again, not the greatest of starting hands, but we do have a quick ball, so we can either try and find Crobat off this quick ball, but most likely what we're going to do is like quick ball out for a Houndour, use our Tower of Darkness, maybe discard a single strike energy, see some more cards, and then end the turn with a research, something like this. So our opponent, right, let me pause this. So our opponent is playing a Cinderace V. Okay, this is quite a good matchup for us because we want to be hitting into V Pokemon, right? They'd give up multiple prizes, 210, maybe a little bit hard for us to hit with Stonjourner, but our Urshifu V can definitely hit into that. So they've put a Giant Half in play and they've put a Vulpix down. Now I know that Vulpix evolves into a Ninetales, and that Ninetales is like a boss's orders essentially. So we have to be careful what we bench because our opponent can probably hit what they want. Let's continue. Right, so it comes over to our turn. We top deck a Tower of Darkness. Let's pause it. So that's a decent card to top deck because now we can use Tower of Darkness and get rid of the Tower of Darkness to see an extra 2 cards. We want to try and hold on to those single strike energies as long as we can. So let's see what we do here. So we put the Tower of Darkness into play, replacing their Stadium. Little bit of good sequence in there. Now we want to use our quick ball now to search out a Houndour, right? Just so, because we want to try and get as many Houndours out as possible. So if we use our quick ball now to search for a Houndour, when we use our Tower of Darkness, that gives us more chances to drawing into more Houndours. See what I mean? So little things like that can really help you out. Let's have a look what happens next. We get rid of Tower of Darkness. Looks like we are gonna. So I'm just thinking about what to grab. I think Houndour is the correct decision. Oh no, we've gone for a Stonjourner. Okay, now the reason being there is because we can attach the single strike energy to the Stonjourner. So it means we're not kind of wasting it. We do play a lot of other ways to find Houndour. So I'm also okay with this decision. Let's see what happens. Do we Tower of Darkness away? Single strike energy. Now we actually draw into 2 cards that we really didn't want to see there. We drew into a Houndoom and we drew into a boss's orders. We can't really use them now, so we're going to have to research them away, unfortunately. You can't see my reaction. My reaction isn't really very good there. You can see me drawing attention to that. We are going to have to pay the research. So there's no way around it. So there we go. Right, now that is a really cool card to draw there, because we've got 2 Houndours, a Houndoom to evolve into next turn. We've got our Crobat to fill our hand if we want, and we've got an Air Balloon to give our Houndours free retreat, or our Oricorio a free retreat, so we can get it out of the active spot. Let's see what we do. So we're definitely going to bench these Houndours all the time, right? Like I said, we need to get the Houndooms out as soon as possible. Now we can attach our Air Balloon and get our Oricorio out of the active and leave Stonjourner in the active. But the problem with that is this Cinderace does 140 for free energy, right? That as it stands now, that Cinderace cannot knock out an Oricorio, but it can knock out a Stonjourner. So we can either try and take the risk, hope our opponent doesn't evolve that Cinderace V into a VMAX if they played it, and KO our Oricorio. Or we can not take that risk, attach the Air Balloon, get the Oricorio out of there, but then most likely our Stonjourner gets KO'd. Let's see what I do. I'm not actually sure. I can't remember. So you see, I'm sort of deciding there. We can use that communication. So it looks like we are going to retreat the Oricorio, and we're going to offer up. I say offer up. We're going to leave a Houndour in the active. That's interesting. My reasoning for that is because we've got 1 Stonjourner with an energy attached, we can just evolve our Houndoom, attach this energy from hand, and then we can have our Giga Hammer go in next turn. I'm not 100% sure if I agree with leaving the Houndour in the active there, but then you don't really want to sacrifice the Stonjourner, because if the Stonjourner gets knocked out, there's no way we can use a big free energy attack, right? So yeah, let's see what happens here. So our opponent uses the Welder. That means they can attach 2 energies. So that was kind of odd. We knew that was going to happen. They use a Pokemon communication. Did you see that, Dedenne? Did you see that, Dedenne? See, I told you, a lot of decks play that, and that's what we want to target a lot, right? Let's have a look. I actually remember what they do here, and it's a little bit mean, I'm not going to lie. Alright, so they communicate back through a Dedenne, which is interesting. So that makes me think they've either prized VMAXs, well, either they prized their VMAXs, and they're trying to find something else to attack with, or they've realized we're playing a single prize deck and don't want to use the VMAX anymore because this is perfectly fine doing 140, right? So they play 2 Dennis, that's good knowledge. And they also play Ninetales as well, right? Oh, they're gonna go after the Stonjourner. Do they have 2 energies in hand? That's a pretty gnarly turn if they do. So it's probably fine to the Dene back, and they're going to try and or Crobat, and they're going to try and gust this up. And while that is a bit annoying, what we could do in that scenario though is attempt to get a KO on this guy with our Urshifu V, right? Because we'll have 2 Houndooms left still. So while that might seem like a pretty disastrous turn if they do get the gust here, it's not really the end of the world. Let's see what they go after. Do they go after this or this? Probably this. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go and try and take the KO here with our Urshifu V Max. Urshifu V, I should say. So we promote this. We have got ways of getting to it, right? So research off the top there was actually pretty gnarly. So I think what we do, we always evolve this. What's our sequencing here? What's our best way of getting to this? Let me just make sure it's in deck first. I'm gonna communicate away this. Oh, it's not even in deck. Oh my lord, of course it's not. Okay. Right, in that case then, we'll just get out a Stonjourner. We'll attach to it. Single strike raw. Of course it's prize. It would have been a nice little turn, you know. Shall we see if we would have got it? Oh, look, we would have got it as well. Okay, that's fine. Can't have your cake and eat it all the time. Right, we could actually take a KO on this to Dene now. But if we... is that worth it? Then they can just retaliate though. So probably not. We'll hold on to that if we can. Single strike raw. We actually got... or we could Tower of Darkness. Air Balloon, Quick Ball. That's not really that impactful. We can also dance off tributes. We've seen a lot of cards here, so if we did have Urshifu available, I think it would have been a fairly safe assumption that he would have got it. But, you know, it is what it is. We still put a lot of pressure on it. Anything we haven't got, we need some Jar of Vitalities next turn. That's something we like desperately need. We'll just Giga Hammer though. Threaten a 2-shot. Well, it's only got 50 HP left, so we can actually probably take a KO with Lance Pulse if needed as well. Meaning we only have to use one single strike wall, potentially. They put another Dene. So all we basically need to do is KO this, and then, you know, KO one of these, and then KO 2 of these. Oh, they play the VMAX, okay. Do they have any healing? If they don't, that's 3 prizes. That's a lot of prizes to take. We do see 1 Hyper Potion in the discard pile. So no healing. Okay, so we do have the potential. If we can get this Stonjourner set up, we can take 3 prizes this turn, right? Let's see if we can do that. We need to find a Jar of Vitality first, and we still haven't got it. Wait, what is our best course of action here? We need to thin cards, all right? So let's attach this with Quick Wall. So how much damage do we need to do? 160. So we need to get 2 strong energies down here, right? So we can't attach any of these captures. So with that, I'm going to get rid of 1. This is going to find us... How much bench space have we got? We're going to take out a Houndoom out of deck. We're going to bench it. So we've got 1 bench spot open for our Crobat. And then we're going to Bruno. So I'll find some Jars of Vitalities. Ooh, wow. How many have we seen? Oh, man, this is sad. It's sad. Okay, so we have got all 4 in the discard. Yeah, we have, right, so I need the Tower of Darkness first. Wow, okay, so we dance with Tribute. We might not even get an attack off here at this rate. Okay. So we can put these 2 back in deck. I don't think we can actually, we have to draw into 1 though, right? We get them all back in deck. Is there any way we can draw into them? No, I don't think there is. Could we to... Oh no, wait. No, we can attach 1. Yeah, so we did it. Yeah. Right, so we can... Yeah, so we'll capture energy. We'll fail that. Single strike roar. So you can see we had our game plan there, and having all these digging cards and the sequencing we did sort of maximized the chances of us doing exactly what we wanted to do. And luckily for us, sometimes it doesn't work, don't get me, you're not always guaranteed. We were sort of close there, but we did. One thing I might actually do is put an attacker down for next turn. Do we need to? I don't think so, because they're going to struggle to have an attack next turn, all right? So let's just Giga Hammer. So we take 3 prize cards there. Wow. And this is why this deck is so cool. It's a 1 prize deck that can threaten and up trade like in situations like this. So now all they basically need to do is just bench a Cinderace, Wild, and attach to it, and they respond to us. But then we didn't actually take Urshifu out of prizes, which is a bit sad as well. But you know, we can ordinary Rod back in some stuff and just do this 2-shot and war again. You know what I mean? What we basically have to do now is just KO something else, and then we can boss one of these guys for a game. We could even... Wow. So we can actually just boss one of them now, right? During this next turn, your Pokemon can't use Giga Hammer. So normally, that would be really impactful, right? Because we wouldn't be able to use Giga Hammer again. But because we can use these escape ropes and switch around our active, that will reset that. So what we can do here, essentially, let's evolve this Houndoom. No reason not to do that. So we need to escape rope into our balloon. That gives us free retreat, right? Reset this Giga Hammer, then we boss, KO one of these guys, and then what that leaves us, what that will allow us to do then is open up the door for that great catcher play. Or since we've got 3 Houndooms out, provided we can get these single strike energies back into the deck, we can just start setting up this guy again. You know what I mean? So let's see what they go into. They probably go into like this, right? I mean, we're not going to hit it anyway. We're not going to hit what they put up unless it's And if they put up a Denny or a Crobat, then we don't even need to play our boss, which would be like very good for us. Because how many bosses have we seen? 1. Okay. They go into the Crobat. Wow. So we actually don't even need to play our boss's orders now, right? So what we can do now is... I'm going to play this ordinary one now, just in case you've prized our Stonjourner. And realistically, that's something I should have checked for before. If you're a really good player, then that's something you would have done. But I'm not, so... Okay, so what we're going to do now is start setting up this Stonjourner, right? So we can try and, if needed, take a KO with Lance Pulse. So we're going to get rid of a Bruno. A Great Catcher is in deck, and we've got 2 Urn of Vitalities as well. So what we can start doing, and we've got our 2 single strike energies. So what we can do now is start setting up this fellow. So in case we get response KO'd, we have boss KO next game, right? Or next turn, I should say. So almost like a bit of a checkmate scenario now, right? So unless they get this boss's orders out of our hand, we win next turn. So we'll retreat into this guy. What we should realistically do as well, in case they play Marnie or Reset Stamp, they're going to try and get this boss orders out of our hand. So we need to like make sure we have as much outs to the boss orders. Okay, so they conceded, but I think our win con there was fine, right? What we're going to do is use the Tower of Darkness, get rid of the Bruno that was in the hand. So if we do get Marnied, we have as much chances to draw back the boss's orders or the Great Catcher. We played multiple of those. We pretty much won that game. There's nothing they could have done, and that's why they conceded. Let's keep it moving. Okay, so we're back here with a single strike, single prize. Once again, we don't lead Stonjourner, so that is our ideal lead Pokemon, but we don't manage to lead it, which is a bit sad because we don't really want to attach anywhere. We don't want to attach energy anywhere else, I should say, unless it's to a Stonjourner or our Urshifu. Looks like we're playing against a single prize deck ourselves. This one like discards energy, discards cards on top of their deck, and they do damage for each energy they discarded. So that's kind of, well, interesting, I guess. What this evolved into has too much HP to where we can attack with Darkness Fang, unfortunately. I think it's got like 130. Yeah, 130. So we are gonna have to use something. What am I gonna say? Stonjourners. We can't use Houndooms in this scenario. So we had this Tower of Darkness. We've got nothing to use. Oh, we could actually get rid of the Houndoom. As much as that pains me to do, that's something we might actually have to do. So let's. Okay, we get Mew. Not too bad. Let me get a Quick Ball. So I think in this scenario, we're going to have to use our Crobat, right? We just have to. So we're going to get rid of this Dojo, because Dojo actually helps them out as well. We don't want to help them out, so... Yeah, so we're going to get ourselves Crobat. We're going to use Escape Rope, so we get Houndoom out of the active and keep Mew there. We're going to use this Ordinary Rod as well, just so we can get that Houndoom back, but mostly just so we can see more cards with this Crobat. Now, we could attach this Capture Energy and, like, Side Power here, which actually might make a difference with Stonjourner, so we actually are going to do that. This is going to find us another Houndour. There we go, and then we're going to Crobat. Just want to try and find Stonjourner at this point, and/or Houndooms. And we find them both, that's pretty cool. We've got an Oricorio in case we get KO'd next turn, which is most likely. We're going to bench this now. Just in case it does get KO'd, we can just promote it and start going off to the races. That's the idea. So we're going to Side Power, 30 on the active. And that's actually a pretty cool turn. You saw we didn't really have the greatest of starting hands, but we sort of maximized our... the line of play we went down got us to this position, which is actually quite advantageous for us. So let's see what they do. They've got 100 HP. So we can... Do we do 30 plus 30 if there's a stadium? So all we have to really do is get 2 strong energies here, I believe, right? 30 plus 30 is 60. They've got 100 left. So we actually have Whim. So there you go. There you can sort of see the decisions we made while we made them. Gets us a nice easy dub there. We could have easily, with that starting hand, messed up. You know, we might not have used the Side Power on this, which actually sets the turn up. Now, realistically, we could have went digging to try and find like another Houndoom to get to the Giga Hammer, but using that Side Power there, you know, knowing the cards, knowing what all your damage is doing, and how you can get cheeky little extra bit of damage in, sometimes can turn games into easy dubs essentially. So there you saw using the Side Power. That's pretty cool. Let's keep moving. We want the coin flip. You always want to go first if you're sort of playing decks that want to evolve, right? Now, with the new supporter rule, some people could argue that it's worse going first in some scenarios. And if you're like a deck that relies on playing supporters as often as possible, like a welder deck, you do probably want to go second. But since that is not us, we want to go first. So, this hand is trash, though. Once again, looks like we have to attach cards, attach energy to Houndoom, which I don't really want to do. Because it looks like this moment in time, I'm going to have to just try and burn cards just so we can see with Crobat. But similarly, in the first game, well, one of the games, if I believe it in, we can actually attack with Houndoom in this matchup. We're playing against, what's this deck called? Primate. We got a quick ball. Do we play this quick ball now? Can we get KO? I don't think we can. So I might hold on to that quick ball. Yeah, so we'll just do that. So, next up, we're going to try and do is probably quick ball out something just to deck them. Maybe find like a Stonjourner. Alright, so Donk is on. All we have to do is find Houndoom. Let's give him that. Alright, so all we got to do is find Houndoom. So now, if all we have to do is find Houndoom to win, what? All we got to do is make sure we get there. So, we're going to play this quick one now to take a card out of the deck. Just because it will be easier to find the Houndooms, right? We're going to take out a Mew. Reason being, if we draw into Tower of Darkness, we can use a Tower of Darkness to get rid of a single strike card. So we take Mew because that's not a single strike card, leaving the sort of out to using Tower of Darkness to find Houndoom. Wow. Okay. How much damage? So we actually miss it. There we go. We actually missed the donk, which was sad. We do 40, right? Yeah. So we'll give them the sad emoji back. Get rid of Houndoom. Yeah, we've got no other way of seeing cards happen. No, we have 4 in deck, look, and we had 4 communications, 3 Tower of Darkness. We had all our outs, we just didn't see them. We just didn't see them. So we'll get Stonjourner. And I guess we'll bite. 10 damage off with that dojo. Which is a bit sad, really. It was a bit sad, but, you know, it's what it is. Looks like our opponent top deck. Oh, they're playing Domfan. Okay. That's interesting. Birdkeeper. So Domfan does a 1 for 120 to the active and then 20 to all their bench. So the sort of synergy they're going for here is 20 to all their bench Pokemon, and then this guy does 50 for each bench Pokemon has damage counters on, so. Now, ideally, this thing is a threat. And this thing is a threat, right? So I'm trying to think, what's our best? Because our hand still isn't very good. 70. Wow, this is actually like really. How much damage do you do? 40. So we actually can't even take a KO anywhere. No, hang on, we do 40, 50. So we could KO this. But then this can only do 50 for each one of your bench Pokemon that has damage on it, right? So if there's no bench Pokemon that has damage on, this can't do anything. So we can KO this. But it's going to be super weird. What we're going to have to do, essentially, is because we do 20 with our bite, plus 20 to 40, 50 because of this. We'll have to do something like this. Super weird play. Yeah, so we KO that. What? This is 20. Okay. So this is really strange. We're both sort of doing very weird game, but these are the sort of games where things aren't going your way. You have to really try and think about what you're doing, right? We are behind on prizes though, so we do get KO to this Field Crush, which is one reason why I left this bench spot open so we can find Oricorio, because that actually might bail us out. So there's the Field Crush. Okay. Going Stonjourner. Alright, so we get Tower of Dark. Tower of Darkness might actually help them out though, right? We have 2 Strongs in the discard pile, so using Urn of Vitality now is efficient. So what we can do now we can bench this Houndoom. The sad thing is, we're going to have to use Land Pulse this turn. We can't get a KO with Giga Hammer. We can't get 3 energies down in the turn, unfortunately. What we could actually do is KO this though, with a boss. Potentially. How much health do you have left? 70. Okay. But in order to do that, we would have to use Tower of Darkness on this. I don't like the idea of this. I want to put this into play. Quick board this out. We're going to find, a Choreo. And then we're going to research. Okay, so okay. Interesting. We get a Houndoom now, so we can use Lance Pulse this turn. That's something we can do. We're going to use Dance of Tribute now, see 3 cards. Okay, Ordinary Rod is kind of interesting. I don't think we need it at this moment in time. Exactly. This hand is... Hold on. So, if we've prized our last single strike energy, we actually can't do this ability, but we didn't, so... This is a really strange game, this one. Now, we could use Tower of Darkness and get rid of one of these urns. Chances of us getting KO'd. Pretty low, though. So we'll just Lance Pulse. For 100. So we were 20 off getting a KO there. There we go. So, things to worry about now. Our opponent playing boss could be interesting. Steaming Mad does 50, right? Which isn't really too scary. So they need to like get into their Dom fans to make this guy do damage, right? But we haven't got access. We haven't got any bosses to get to that Pampy. So chances are we shouldn't really be getting KO'd now. This turn at least. They might even opt to do a Field Crush instead to get rid of our Tower of Darkness. Oh, they go for the boss. We're not weak to fighting though, so that's not a KO, right? No, it does 50. But now we're stuck in the active, which is a bit annoying. And we get Urshifu V out there. Probably not going to use that this game though. So what I might opt to do actually is get rid of that. See if we can draw into a balloon. We get an escape rope. Not bad. Which we will play. We take out a prize on whatever they promote now, which is kind of cool. They're going Pseudo-Rudo, right? Yeah, so we have to go into this. We can... Let's have a think. Lance Pulse 30. So we actually take a KO with Lance Pulse here. Which is kind of cool. The only problem, we haven't got ourselves an attacker. Now this guy has 20 health left, right? So we can line up a Mew side power KO. So what I might actually do is attach Capture Energy there. We're going to Ordinary Rods. We'll do both. We'll do that now. We're going to put these guys back into the deck just so we can try and draw into them with the communication. That's the idea, right? Or Tower of Darkness. Yeah, so I'm just going to make sure I've got my maths correct here. So yeah, 30 plus 30 if there's a stage, and that's 60 plus 40. Yeah, so we take a KO with this. Take a prize card. Hopefully it's something good. Bruno is nice because it's going to shuffle us up, which is cool. But they still don't actually take a KO, funnily enough, right? So again, like I said, these sort of weird tic-tac games are where it's at. These are the ones where, you know, provided you play well, you can turn losses into dub. Now, hopefully I say that and I can actually get us into a dub here. 110. So that isn't a KO, right? That's 70 because then you got one damaged Pokemon. Is that a KO now with the dojo? No, it's not. Okay, cool. So, let's have a think. What are we doing here now? So, this got 70 health left. We know we can KO this with a Lance Pulse again. So, we don't really actually need to do a great deal here, in all honesty. We can just Lance Pulse again and take a prize, right? I don't think there's any reason for us to do anything else. We can't really set up Houndoom to do any damage because it doesn't really do enough. So I think we're okay. Let me make sure to do my maths correct again. 30 plus 30. So we do 100 damage, 110. They have 70 health. Wait. Hold on. I'm just going to make sure that time was going out. I think we did have a KO, but I was scared about the... that stone fight that they attached. So we did 100. So yeah, I actually didn't need to attach that there. That was actually a mistake. But I got a bit scared because of the timer. We have 20 health left, so we get KO'd to a Field Crush now. That is a scary boy, 150 HP, wow. Okay. So, what we can do though is just side power this, right? The good news is they've got a low hand size, so I don't know what they've been doing, but chances are they haven't really been drawing what they want, right? So now we can earn a vitality these two back into the deck. Yeah, 120. Yeah, so we can carry this. What we need to do is start setting up. How much damage do you do? 120. So that's got an effective 170 health, right? Yeah. 120, 140, 160, 180, stage, and 190. Yeah, so we can actually take a KO with this guy. So we can do something like this, right? Single strike raw. We can actually aura choreo. I like the sound of that. What I'm trying to do now is just trying to set up this fellow so we can carry this. And I think if we have 3 strongs with this stage, and we can do. So we're gonna leave that in play for now. We could play this Bruno, but this hand kind of has everything we need in it. We'll just side power 1, 2. He has 120 right here. 1 there. We go down to 2. Now we do also have our Urshifu V that we can use as well, just to like be a big wall at some point in the game. Just say, right, get through this. And this, oh, there's the detonate. So we can great capture that as well for our last 2 prizes. There we go. So unless we get hand disrupted here, we actually have game on board, right? All we do now, we just promote Stonjourner, attach energy, use our Giga Hammer, and then boss KO this. I hope I've been doing a good explanation of my thought process. It's really hard to sort of talk and play at the same time, especially in a game like this where things haven't been going perfect. So hopefully that's been good for you. Let me know. What I might actually do is do some pauses and do some post-com just to help you guys out. But boss also, look, they've realized as well, if they want to win this game, they're going to have to boss at some point. But we're not going to give them the option. You can see the scariness of this primate now, though. 50 for each Pokemon that has damage on, right? Now they've got 4. But we don't even need boss's orders at this point. We can just do this. Done. Great catcher. Well played. Giga Hammer for our last 2 prizes. There you go. Right, so I hope you enjoyed that gameplay, and I'm sure you're an absolute expert at playing single strike Stonjourner. You're probably better than me, to be honest. So I mentioned at the start of the video that one of the reasons why I really want beginners to pick this deck up is because it has a clear upgrade path. Let me talk you through that. So let's say you've watched the video, you think, yep, I'm going to build this. Shay, what can I do to potentially make this deck a little bit better? Or what other avenues can we take? So right now, there's a few avenues you can take. We already have the single strike Urshifu V. This V can actually V max. Okay, that means it can evolve. Now that means it gives up 3 prizes if it gets knocked out, but it becomes an absolute colossal behemoth. Okay, it'll have 330 HP and it'll have 2 attacks. The first attack does 3 for 100 beatdown. That's not really that great, but remember we have the single strike energy, so this can start hitting 120, 140, as high as 160. But it does have this attack here, G max 1 blow. Now this attack is absolutely insane. This is for 4 energy. Does 270 damage, right? And it goes through all effects on your opponent's Pokemon. Sounds odd, but you have to discard your energy. Forgot about that. Always forget about that bit. So what if you want to go down this route, you pile on the single strike energies onto your Urshifu VMAX, and this VMAX can essentially one-shot anything in the game. So yeah, this can one-shot anything in format. Not gonna lie, it's really gnarly. It's a really cool deck. I'll leave a video down below if you want to see a single strike Urshifu VMAX deck list video, okay? But one thing I would say though, if you want to go down this route, it's not really a good idea to play like a 2-2 line or a 2-1 line. Reason being, if this VMAX gets knocked out, you give up 3 prizes, and that means the whole sort of prize trading aspect that we use with Stonjourner kind of gets thrown out the window. So you have to either pick Stonjourners or flip all the way over to like a 4-3 line of VMAX. But that's like the sort of super high range you can go. There is a middle ground here where you can play you can start playing more Urshifu Vs potentially, or there's actually this really cool Tyranitar V that you can play as well. Now you're probably looking at this card thinking, wait, this attacks for Dark Energy. How does that work then? The single strike energy provides fighting and dark, so you can use the single strike energy to provide the dark energy cost, and then the colorless, you already know we can do. We can use capture energies, and we can use single strike energies for that. So this Tyranitar has 2 attacks, right? Cragalanch, which does 3 for 60 and discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. The discarding is actually kind of cool, and obviously with Single Strike Energy you can keep that number up a little bit higher. But the second attack for 4 energy does 240 and discards the top 4 cards of your deck. That's a bit unfortunate, but what this lets us do is, like, it's in the same way our Stonjourners and Urshifus hit the Dene for weakness, hits for fighting type weakness. You can play one of these Tyrannitars in here, so you can hit for 2 weaknesses at a time. So any Pokemon that's weak to Dark, which will be popular come the next set, we can hit them for weakness. So it's not a bad card to include, in all honesty. I didn't leave it in the base list. I didn't want to like confuse people too much. I only wanted to have 1-2 prize attacker, but you can very easily put a Tyranitar V in here as well. Give you a little bit more offensive potency and let you hit for a different weakness as well. Let's say you want to keep this deck a 1 prize engine, a sort of 1 prize engine, a 1 prize trading deck. There's going to be a new Survivor in the next set in Chilling Reign. So when that comes out, what this Survivor does is a single strike Pokemon. And what this Survivor does, a basic Pokemon 110 HP, and it has the attack. And what this attack does for 2 dark, 1 colorless, so effectively 2 single strike energies and a capture or whatever, it does 90 damage. Not bad. But if you played a single strike supporter from your hand this turn, you do an extra 90, so you do 180, and that's before applying any single strike energy. So you can see this is a lot higher of a damage threshold than what Stonjourner's doing. This will let us start KOing stuff like Dedenes and Crobats, I should say, and a lot of decks play Crobat as well. So you can see how strong this is. There's also another supporter in Chilling Reign, Cavern's Conviction, that basically does more damage depending on how many prize your opponent's taken. So this Survivor starts hitting into Urshifu V type impact blow numbers on a 1 prizer. That's pretty gnarly, and I think that's going to be a pretty competitive deck in Chilling Reign. So if you're watching this and Chilling Reign's out, swap these Stonjourners for Survivors. So you've got a nice future-proof engine, a future-proof deck, and it's really really good as well. So thank you for watching. If you've made it all the way to the end, you're a real one. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for me, because I've got plenty of deck profiles, videos, comedy videos, game shows as well, all that good stuff. So yeah, like the video, subscribe if you like what you saw, and I'll see you next time.